What jumps out at you when we take a look at the overall summer split from the LEC?
Ooh, I mean, there's not many like positives that I have, but I would say that the main thing that stands out, and I think that this is the thing that most people have agreed upon, is that like this format is played out. We're just done with this format. We need a different format going forward. The fact that like there was such a clear, this is probably the worst group stage to watch, the worst season to watch out of all six, because there was such a clear top four. So what that ends up meaning is that like, because all these teams are like one win or two wins going into the last week, teams were like qualified on 4 wins or something. So teams like Fnatic, G2, BDS, SK, like they're already qualified on day 1 or day 2 of week 2 in a 4-week season, and there's like not really anything that they should really care about. Like for example, if you're G2, they played like that final game where they played Caitlyn, Mundo, all this stuff, and you don't even know if they're like trying, because it's like, do you like, should they try? Because they think they're the best team, so why would they show anything when they're already like guaranteed qualified? And then when you look at like other teams, it's like, damn, like if you're BDS Fnatic, like do you guys like, who wants to win this game? Because if you win, then you probably have higher chance to play against G2. So those games don't matter. Then you have the Mad Lions and Vitality situation, where there was a point where I think you could make an argument after the first game that was played that Mad Lions should intentionally lose to Rogue, so Rogue goes on, because they know that Rogue is a bad team, and that would almost guarantee Mad Lions in like summer finals, in season finals. So it's like, because of the points, should they like nuke their split to like 1-for-1 for Vitality, because Vitality was one of the closest teams to them in points? The only way this backfires is if like somehow K Corp, Heretics, Giant X, Rogue, like 2 or 3 of those teams end up placing into the top 3 of LEC. So I think that there's like too much bullshit that can go on with the format. Also, the tiebreak situation, like still no one knows what's going on in tiebreaks. Think about it. People have watched this split 6 times and people don't know how tiebreaks work still. Like I have to check every single time because it's so intuitive, because like head to head doesn't matter. So it's like strength of schedule, strength of wins, sorry, not strength of schedule, strength of your wins. And then if you have
I mean, that's how it should be though.
Strength of wins, then it becomes game time. And game time doesn't determine, like it doesn't knock anyone out.
Game time is terrible.
But game time is the order in which like the tie breaks will happen. So if there's 3 teams tied, the team with the fastest game time in their wins, they end up being like the final boss of the little gauntlet that's formed. And then the teams with the second 2 like game times end up playing first, like that. And then like if you're not playing for 8th, then there's no tie breaks at all. It's just not a good format. Like just even saying all this, people probably have tuned out what I'm saying already, because they just don't even give a fuck. It's tiring to listen to. It's tiring to watch.
So, okay, there's a lot to discuss there. I think that your points about Mad Lions, maybe intentionally losing, are super valid and something that needs to be addressed. I think that it is very unlikely, based off of strength of schedule, to go to a second tiebreaker, which is game time. And game time is shit. The problem with League of Legends as a game is that you do not have a reliable tiebreaker like you do in a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, which is round differential. And game time is obviously super flawed, because if you pick a scaling composition and intentionally play kind of a longer game to scale up, then you're basically punished for playing a strategy or a style for your team, right? So that is pretty bad. But I don't think it's very likely that teams would have the same strength of victory. Basically, like I think, you have to have something as a secondary tiebreaker, but that is not really that likely to occur. So I'm less concerned about that. As far as the format goes, I get that this first stage is kind of boring, but at the same time, I think it's kind of revisionist to say that this format is not good, because it is in fact eliminating 2 of the bad teams right off the bat. Like nobody is leaving this stage thinking, I'm really sad I don't get to see any more Vitality or Rogue games. If anything, we kind of wish that this format would eliminate more teams.
Yes, exactly. That's my whole point. But that's why I think the format is bad. I don't think they eliminate enough teams. Like they do this 9-game best of ones, and then like you end up with 2-win teams qualifying, like teams that were terrible the entire split. Like, they're the ones that are qualifying, and then you have to watch them play too. I don't know. It's pretty. Which
was
tough.
Unlikely, because like 4 wins was kind of the gatekeeper number of wins in previous splits of LEC. So I think this was an anomaly because the league was so split between top and bottom teams, but obviously it's something that can and did happen. But at the same time, we have to remember what this format's trying to accomplish. And the problem really, Dom, is that they sold franchises because they have to guarantee minimum number of games for these franchise teams. If they hadn't sold franchises, then we could obviously eliminate more of these bottom teams. We could start doing promotion relegation with, Masters teams, like Masters teams, right? So I don't know how you really solve this. In many ways, I think they've actually already been very aggressive with the format in terms of just kicking out bad teams really quickly after only a few weeks. The problem, though, is that the league itself, as we discussed in our show last week about would you rather like kick the bottom four or bottom two bottom four LEC teams or bottom four LCS teams, is that these playoffs are just going to suck in the first round. Like, does anybody really think that there is going to be an upset in the first round of competition? The matchups are SK Heretics, Fnatic Giant X, BDS Mad Lions, and
don't say the last
G2
one.
versus Carmine.
G2 versus KC, like,
is actually the closest to a potential maybe upset, right?
Which is 3 versus 5, I think. Yeah, like I don't think the problem is the format right now. The problem is that the talent in the league is pretty top heavy, and so if it was more spread out, then this format works. But right now, G2 is so dang dominant that they're dicking around and still winning. Like that'll change over time, hopefully.
I think that the problem with the format is that there's like so many splits as well, plus the season finals. So it's just like you're so worn out from watching LEC. Like this, we've done 4 weeks. So before it was like 6 weeks, you could do a whole split, then you take 2-week break, and then you do another 6 weeks, and it's another whole split. Like you're just watching so many games that at a certain point you're like, damn, does this matter anymore? Than the team that wins, they lift up like the little shield trophy thing. It's in the studio. I mean, the whole idea of it just doesn't feel real. I mean,